I just got thrown into a boss fight. Nah, we 3v. He summoned a cool ass demon though. That was kind of cool. All right.
Elder Seedseer.
My lady.
I am come to express my gratitude for your valiant efforts before the Guardian Tree. I am informed that an adventurer of singular talent now walks amongst us. You are she, are you not? My name is Khan Esena, and it is my solemn charge to watch over all who call Gridania home.
Khan Esena?
Well met and welcome to
Well
our
met.
fair nation. It was your valor that won us the day, I believe. On behalf of all Gridanians, I offer you my humblest. This gift I present to you as a small token of my gratitude. I hope that you will ever remain a...
Gimme.
Green Bliss is coming. It is an age-old ceremony to... Over the centuries, it has blossomed into a joyous festival. I should be most gratified.
Oh, such a great honor.
I look forward to seeing. Till then, fare you well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. New mask, hell yeah. What the fuck? What was that?
So, the European Fan Festival for Final Fantasy XIV took place in Berlin fairly recently. I was there, and it was absolutely amazing. But upon coming out of the press conference, I've been left with a couple of questions on my mind over anything else. One of the most important being, how do the new jobs work, and what is the unannounced one? What was showcased to us, and how does it break down? Was that obvious moment in the trailer indicative of what we can expect from a second new Evercold job, or was it a red herring? We'll talk about everything here. So firstly, I'll be discussing the newly announced tank, Bastion, and then looking at our as of yet unannounced physical range DPS, and what the leading predictions are, as well as my own. As a quick aside, if you want to support deep dives and discussions into FF14, please do consider subscribing to the channel, because it really does help me. So Bastion comes first. This is the main tank being added in Evercold and will accompany Paladin in the slot. As a quick reminder, Dark Knight, Gunbreaker and Warrior will be off tanks, with special proficiencies in providing party support, which I assume will be mostly defensive, and Paladin with the newcomer Bastion will be main tank, specialising in directly mitigating incoming enemy damage. This means that when I'm watching through the trailer they gave for the job, I'm always looking for abilities that might be a one-to-one link to something Paladin possesses, versus actions that seem exclusive to Bastion. Bastion comes equipped with dual shields as their weapon, and they are called Skiltborg, and they flip around on the arms to swap between a clawed melee mode and ranged giant triple-barreled cannons. It starts in Limsa Laminta at level 90, and it will be exclusively available in evolved mode, so it will only have consolidated action counts, and as a result the animations we're seeing could well be a decent chunk of what the job actually possesses as a whole. And that secondly, we are looking directly for buttons that could have hidden more complex effects, or that will change situationally based on the case in which you use it. Just like how Paladin has the capability to have gap closer and cover on the same button in its evolved mode with Evercold. They gave a tiny bit of lore information on the background of the job, confirming first of all that it doesn't come from the Fourth but instead from the Source, and that its combat style originates in the vast expanse of the Northern Empty. There, the region of Airslent, which I hope I didn't mispronounce, has long been protected by these Bastions, who have been studying their weapons for generations. They are warriors, through and through. Now what I'm going to do really quickly is play through the trailer a couple of times whilst I talk, and point out the bits and pieces that came across as extremely interesting to me. Nothing is confirmed as of yet, and really we need to wait until we see the job gauge as well as in-game footage with the UI turned on to draw any properly meaningful conclusions on how parts of its kit interact with one another or what their actual effects are, but there most certainly is enough here to talk about at least. So, they show right at the start that this job can switch between melee and ranged abilities. You might argue that they are stances, but my expectation is simply that basic attacks or other actions build gauge, or that they passively generate gauge over time and ranged attacks spend gauge. This is just like Evercold Paladin in that regard. This first main action, which makes the gun shields glow, could be a couple of things. Firstly, a simple tank stance button, but I also have something related to this that I'd like to bring across from the press conference question and answer session that Naoki Yoshida had later on the day at FanFest. Let me quote it for you. Regarding the ranged attacks in its toolkit, I think you could also look to Paladin, which also has ranged attacks. But I think one of the benefits of Bastion is that it can shoot. It has a good combination of close range attacks and then attacks which can be done from afar, so with those shooting abilities it can be useful in certain encounter situations. I did mention in the keynote presentation as well that one of the key appeal points about Bastion is that in its toolkit it does have a good recovery and guarding abilities as well. As a main tank, you can instantly apply those effects to a party member, but the key thing about Bastion is you can also do it at a timing of your liking. So you can look to what the boss is going to do, and based on the boss's timeline, you can decide when would be the most optimal time to apply that recovery or guarding ability for your party members. I think that's the key point. Of course, there is a good range of attacking skills as well in the toolkit, but this is another aspect of the job that you can take into account. So he mentions explicitly that Paladin can have ranged attacks, but then specifically distinguishes it by mentioning that Bastion has the key benefit in being able to shoot, as well as that it offers a combination of melee and ranged attacks that give it versatility in combat scenarios. So whilst I think some of the attacks, namely the glowing empowered ranged ability showcased, are likely directly comparable to Paladin's magic ranged combo, there's also this claw action right at the start that happens after the glowing stance action, and I wonder if that too is a ranged attack that transitions you into a buffed melee phase as well. Also of note is the fact that the gap closer ability showcased here seems to do damage to the enemy. This means that it is either distinct from the utility gap closer they may also possess, and instead could be more akin to the one that Summoner has in their Ifrit cycle, or it means that some jobs will still have gap closers that deal damage. This could be an opportunity for Bastion to differentiate itself a little even. You know how Paladin can now cover on their gap closer? What if Bastion can leap to an enemy to deal damage, or leap to an ally to mitigate damage? Something akin to this would be quite interesting, I feel. But the most intriguing part of this entire info dump from Naoki Yoshida comes at the tail end. It does have a good recovery and guarding abilities as well. As a main tank, you can instantly apply those effects to a party member, but the key thing about Bastion is that you can also do it at a timing of your liking. So, you can look to what the boss is going to do, and based on the boss's timeline, you can decide when would be the most optimal time to apply that recovery or guarding ability for your party members. This bit here, which I just read again, this could sound like it's adjacent to some limited time Cardia-style mitigative ability for party members if you read it in a certain way. But this could also mean that simply Bastion has more free-flowing access to its party mitigation than its peers, and that you can delay the usages of some of those actions via charges. It could even mean that Bastion can give its cooldowns to allies whenever it wants, even partway through usage. On that note, I think we're going to have to wait and see. Speaking of charges, look at this slashing attack with the claw versions of the Bastion weapons. Doesn't this look like it repeats and that it's extremely fast? Considering that so many jobs in Evercold have their own version of a hypercharge, I do wonder if this is Bastion's. It could be spammed like Machinist's hypercharge, or held down like Flamethrower, may be gaining potency the longer you hold it. They also showed off the shift in stance between claw mode and gun mode, as well as what seems to be the empowered ranged combo coming from it, that I think looks genuinely very cool. I'm excited to get to grips with the job to properly understand how it all plays out in practice, and just how different it ends up being from its main tank brother in role. They show a defensive skill, which could well be the unique 40% mitigation for Bastion, as well as this weird one, where the tank blasts underneath the ground